out of all of your experiences and different phases, different journeys, different states, different everything, what would you say is like your, I want to say like lessons learned, or maybe your top 3 lessons learned that you would want to give to someone maybe just starting out, or maybe someone that's like in a difficult time that's looking to have a more fulfilling life, or maybe someone who's looking to have a more of an impact in business, or maybe just someone that's just kind of like in an in-between state, maybe transitional state?
So first and foremost, I love to think big. So always think big. Always think big. Don't be so hard on yourself if you don't achieve the biggest goal, right? Thinking big though, but not so hard on yourself. Leading with kindness is a huge one. There are a lot of nice people in the world that are not as kind, right? So leading with kindness, but really for people that are seeking a change or something different, is finding a person that you admire, right? Or looking at a person that you want to have where they're at. You want to be where they're at. Reaching out to them and people alike, so that to see if you can be mentored or have some advice or some sort of guidance. People are a lot more open than one would think. Right. And so just a message through LinkedIn, right? People are so open to that, and being able to respond. And then positioning yourself in rooms where people are so much more grander, just bigger. So always leveling up, right? If you are the smartest person in the room, you got to find another room. That's the biggest one.
Welcome back to Connecting the Dots. We're in season 3, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Gaby Enriquez, and she's the founder of HRbp, where scaling a company is easy, but scaling a company with integrity is the hard part. And Gaby, she delivers turnkey growth solutions for global organizations. Gaby doesn't just consult, she builds the entire people and compliance infrastructure that allows founders to stop firefighting and start expanding. From auditing systems for cost efficiency to designing scalable people ops frameworks, Gaby provides the blueprint for sustainable profit. Gaby, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's so funny because when we met, I met you because I was like searching for other people who have podcasts and everything like that. And I'm so happy that we're finally doing it.
I know. 2 years later, after a LinkedIn message, and we got together. But yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah. And so like during that time, I think a lot has changed. And now you're focusing on global turnkey solutions for scaling companies in an easy, fun, and cohesive way.
Yes.
So like what led you to this area of your life, and what led you to even starting your own company?
Oh my gosh. So over 20 years of experience in operations and HR. So it really kind of started in HR. My education background's in psychology. So it was kind of the direction that I was going towards. So a lot of it was people operations, the hiring of things, the finding the right talent, where you're going to plug people, compliance and labor laws and things like that. And so as I was really scaling and growing myself, right, in my career, I was working with a lot of organizations that were either startup or mid-size and really on a fast track, always in a global situation though. So they always wanted to establish new entities and scale in other places. So there was a lot of Latin America, APAC, EMEA. And so it was a lot of that knowledge that I gained also with just different cross-country labor laws, and establishing entities and everything that kind of went through it. But even in my younger years, I was always sort of like the youngest one, asking all the questions to every single one, CTOs and the COOs and the CEOs and the finance people and the sales people. I wanted to know how their brain worked, what they did, why they did it, why it was working for the company, what wasn't working. So I was always that person really kind of in everything. And what was at first very like nosy or just like, who is this
Curious,
person,
right?
curious. It really turned into a superpower because then I really knew what didn't work in a lot of situations. And then I was able to offer different opinions and different insights, right? As I continued to grow and do some consulting with Fortune companies and so on. So that kind of really led to a different sort of mindset, very operational, people focused, but I was able to speak numbers, which is not so common for HR.
Yes.
Right. I was able to really plug that in and make some sense of it. But while still maintaining that human element and making sure that, we are human, when it comes to terminations, there are certain ways, right ways, no, and reasons as to why organizations do certain things. So, that's kind of what brought me to that. The last organization before I launched my own was an RPA and AI company. Again, we took that global, established in Dubai, in India, Pakistan, and then Latin America, which was my initiative because it's so close to home. And it made business sense. So as we were scaling that, some consulting on the side, it just made sense. I was kind of a little burnt out of being in the weeds in the corporate space for so long. And I wanted to do more and do better by other small companies and mid-sized companies that were just not getting it, not really having the resources, not understanding or having the knowledge. So I wanted to be that sort of facilitator to be able to get them to the next level. So that really is what launched me to open up my own operation.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. That's amazing. Because it's like, as you were talking, it was like, kind of I was flashing throughout my career and stuff like that too. Like when you have the opportunity to get exposed to global companies and what that really means from an infrastructure perspective, it's very complex. And then I had a taste of that when I was doing like post-merger integration work, where like you're acquiring a company that's like in Prague and they have X amount of contractors versus employees, but they were a small company. So it was okay. But then when you get absorbed into a super large companies where, it's a publicly traded company, and you have all the compliance and SEC and like all these different organizations that audit these large companies, there's a lot that needs to change as far as trying to bring those people over and then making it cohesive. So like, I think your experience is very, very valuable and very, very rare because a lot of people, they tend to stay in like their silos or they stay in a role for like 20, 30 years without really expanding into anything new.
Yeah. And it could be for so many reasons. I mean, at least for me, I think I've been very, very fortunate that I've had the experience to be a part of a company that was being acquired, a merger, in the happening, and then being the company to acquire others, right? And having those experiences and be able to see what happens in the background, right, in the back end, behind the scenes, the documentation and the role consolidations. And there's just so much to it. And then being able to determine whether we should buy, whether we should invest in that organization. Does it make sense? And then be able to really kind of determine not just the compliance things, but are the numbers making sense, right? In order to acquire that such a company.
Yeah. And then the synergies as well. And we actually really realize those synergies because a lot of times people will buy companies and then they never really fully integrate. They never really merge even cultures. Like sometimes it's really hard to merge cultures as well. You have lingos and terminologies that company one uses, that company two is like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. And you see that in all sizes. I mean, these are struggles that don't just happen in the small and medium-sized companies. These are struggles that happen in enterprise level organizations for a long term. I mean, we can talk big names that struggle with the things for years and years because it just never blended.
Yeah. And so do you find more fulfillment working with the smaller companies versus the larger companies? This was like literally a conversation I was having with someone the other day. Like, I don't know if I should position my firm to be more niche in the small business space or, take on more corporate clients.
There are a lot of folks that will tell you, especially when you open your own business and you have your own thing, really speak to and like specialize to one sort of group, right? I don't believe in that. And I've never believed in that. And I feel like because I've not been that person, it's allowed me to know and get to know so much of so many things. So do we tailor to enterprise? Yes. But as far as like a fulfillment and personal enjoyment, yeah, I like to see an underdog win. I mean, I love the small companies and the medium-sized companies and really helping them and shaping them. My parents were entrepreneurs, so I saw the ups and downs, the struggles, the lack of knowledge in certain areas. And so I really love to help those that want and just don't know how.
No, it's really interesting because like for me, I'm the first one in my family to try to pursue, entrepreneurship and pursue business. Everybody else was in the healthcare field. And so like, you're actually like, I feel like people who have parents who are entrepreneurs, it's like you have this different lens of awareness of just all the different things that they had to juggle in order to make their business take off and in order to make their business grow. So how has watching your parents, how did that influence your life? Like as far as certain decisions that you made, you said you decided to study psychology, for example. And, when you get into entrepreneurship, you really realize how much psychology is at play.
Yeah. Well, funny thing. So when I was growing up watching my parents with their business, I immediately knew I may want to start my own business at some point, but I'm not going to go into business with family. That was like my thing. I was like, I'm not doing this because I would see them, right? And it was, at least for them, they were able to manage it really well between themselves, each other. But it seemed like it was just never like a switch off. It was just always work, right? In certain things. And so for me, I was like, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah.
Funny enough, then into adulthood, it kind of doesn't switch off. You love it. You take it everywhere you go, right? Talk about things with my kids and,
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But that's kind of like what I was thinking. And so I was like, okay, my dad would sit me down, and his way of like, reprimanding me or like telling me I did something wrong was like very psychological. It was like let's sit down and let's analyze and do a lot of like going back into why you did the things and all, and so I was just like, so good and bad. I was very hard on myself,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I loved the fact that I was always able to really kind of like sit in my space, analyze, take things as learning lessons, and then push forward. Nothing really would set me back. He also taught me really strong lessons in sales and, not to take a no very personally and sort of like live in my little delusional land of it's okay, on to the next. They'll come back to me later, that kind of mentality.
As well,
and it helps. It works.
Yeah.
And so that really gave me the confidence, I think, in order to really do all of the things I was able to accomplish. So it's so important, I think, now even for like parents to do that with their kids and to show them and teach them those confidence skills, to be able to really push forward. You really need them in business. You really need them even if you're not owning your own company, right? But in business in general, to really stand your ground and push forward towards something that you're passionate about and your purpose and things like that. So yeah, what they instilled in me definitely helped shape a lot. And then my psychology background, I think everyone needs a psychology sort of course or, studies, because it really helped me understand, be more empathetic towards people and understand and meet them where they're at. Right. For a long time, I was very empowering, I want to empower women. I want to do all these things. And really high in confidence.
Yeah.
But then certain people were very comfortable with where they were.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I
yes.
had to learn when to not pull more than they were comfortable, sort of accepting. And so it really helped me in that way also.
Yeah. You and it's really interesting because I studied economics and finance. Like I didn't, and then I was pre-med, but back then, like you didn't have to take any like psychology courses. And when I was going through a phase of like, oh my God, what do I do with my life again? I was considering med school again. And so like I had restudied for the MCAT, but included like psychology and sociology and a lot of different like prominent experience that really shaped the field. And so it really opened up my eyes like, oh, wow. Oh, that's what this is. Oh, And so at the time I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to med school. Like I just, because I was trying to, it was between like, okay, should I, stop working and take on debt and try to pursue this, because nowadays you have to like get a master's in science and all this, it's like some biology or something like that, then apply for med school. So you're like not even guaranteed that after that as well, or trying to save up money and buy a house. I was like, you know what, let me just keep this business path, and we want to get a house, and we got a house. But now looking back, like I'm very, very grateful that I went through that phase, because one, I took a biochemistry course. So, how there was COVID and all those things. And I was like, okay, like none of this makes sense, because like, I'm not an expert in any of this, but if you study like the fundamentals, like I'm like, okay, this is all weird.
Yeah.
And I got to understand more psychology, which has really, really helped me today. Especially as I'm like, interacting with people and change management and all those things.
Exactly. I mean, it's a people business. You're dealing with people all the time. You're selling all the time. You're always selling, whether it's your brand, your company, who you are, whatever it is, you're always selling something. And you need to know who you're dealing with, right? And sort of really safeguard your space as well, in order to get to wherever it is that you want to go to, have the right people in your circle, know how to be able to detect those people in your circle, and push forward and champion, around that.
Yeah, it's really true. Yeah. It's really true. Especially like when you start understanding like the different archetypes of people, and okay, if you talk to them like this or interact with that, you'll expect this type of behavior, So it kind of gives you a little map of how to navigate, especially when you're going through like a challenging time with helping an organization as well.
Absolutely. When coaching leaders, a lot of the time, I let them know, and that's where I kind of say, you need to take off your sort of like HR hat. For HR, sometimes it's just conversations with people within the organizations. You need to know when does it need to be documented, when it doesn't need to be documented, and it's just simply a conversation. And then it's still that trust within an organization, within people, so that they're able to come to you and have a safe place where they say, I don't know this. I don't know where to go for this information, and have it be, such a place where they can feel comfortable coming to you with anything, as opposed to, well, if I don't deliver, if I don't do this, if I don't know this, I might get fired.
Yeah.
Right. And so that really affects a lot of organizations. It creates toxic environments.
Burnout.
And then burnout, especially, if you don't have the right task force workforce to be able to cover when people are out, right? How many people, I mean, myself included in the past, vacation and you're still on your phone. You can't disconnect, right? And it's not your company. It's different if it's your company, right? You're there, but if it's not your company, and you're not able to disconnect and you're answering questions because you don't really have anybody else that can cover you. Yeah. Those are the kind of things that management and leadership need to really take into account, be able to do in order to move forward, right? As business owners, then my leadership and my coaching to them is just more of knowing what to do, when to invest it, so that way you can outsource certain things, delegate certain things, so that way you can do other tasks, right? They're going to generate a lot more revenue because your time at that point is a lot more expensive than one would think. Yes. Right? You're doing all the marketing stuff. You're, and you don't know anything about marketing. You're doing all the accounting stuff. You don't really know the things in accounting. Yeah. You know, you're kind of really figuring things out, but at the same time, it's really costing you a lot more than it really should.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's a great point. Because I'm like, if I could go back, like, I did not realize how much of sales and marketing I had to really learn, because I was such like a back office type of person, because I did a lot of like reporting, IT projects, and back office functions. And then when I was like, okay, I'm gonna launch my own thing, I'm like, oh crap. But then at the same time, it was like really fulfilling for me, because it was like a chance to like really expand myself, and then put my mindset in areas where it was just a black box before, like, I didn't even know some of these concepts existed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely hear you. And then after you get to a certain point, then it's like, yes, you need to bring in someone who's actually an expert in it.
Exactly. Well, to get to the next level, you have to, right? It's an exercise. You're working muscles that have never been worked before. So you're really kind of exploring that, and it's fun at first, being all creative and doing all these things, and it's like really nice, and the colors and the fonts and the all these things that kind of go with it.
Yes.
But then after a while, it's like, okay, wait, how much time did I spend on this?
Exactly.
And there's nothing new coming in.
Exactly. Exactly.
Does it really make sense? And so that's kind of where you really need to outsource. And that's where I always think global, and a lot of small businesses don't think global, because there's a lot of resources that are out there that are cost efficient. You just need to know where to look for them, how to hire them, and then go with a partner that actually is able to do that in a more compliant way. So that way you don't get in trouble with the IRS, because they will always get their money, right?
Yes.
So, but it's very important to do that, because you have those resources for much less. And that's something that you can, again, push off and focus on other things that are going to continuously generate more revenue, more profit, and then be able to manage so that you're able to scale, right? If that's something that you want to do.
Yes.
Otherwise, then if you want to be a consultant, that's great too. It's a different strategy.
Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah. 100%. So like in your years of experience, and even where you are right now, just like reflecting back, has there been one client or one project or one engagement where it was really a defining moment in your career?
A defining moment. Well, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. I think in the very beginning, because I was a bit burnt out from corporate, in my mind, I wanted to be a consultant, right? I was like, I just want to have a handful of clients, be able to do the things because I love what I do, and that's it. When I started really kind of getting the work and then started having some clients a bit stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
They had different visions, right? And I was just more of that doer as a consultant. It really kind of started shifting, and it opened up a different layer where I was like, kind of like a wake up. That's not what you want to do. This is not what you want to do for the rest of your life. You need to establish an organization where you have teams of experts that are able to guide organizations to get to the next level, to really grow, to be profitable, to sell, to do all these things that they need to do to establish the systems, the operations. Not necessarily you do the work as a doer, because I was too much of a thinker and strategist to just be a doer. And so when I had those experiences with clients, it sort of gave me that like, what are you doing? What are you fighting? I get you're burnt. I get you're tired. Take a little break, right? And then just continue to push forward. And that's kind of what jump-started that path.
Yeah, that the switch from the doer to, so you guys, you kind of would say like from a doer to like an orchestrator, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That is, I think that switch, that that it's so subtle sometimes,
It is.
but when you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
There was a book that helped me to kind of have that aha moment. Oh my gosh, it was called oh man, the book's on the tip of my tongue. Oh my goodness, I feel like looking it up. It was, oh man, let's see, babe. Do you know that book? It's like about entrepreneurship. It's about entrepreneurs, about building systems where you're not. Oh God, yes, systemology. Yes, the book was Systemology, and then when I read that one, it really like clicked in my head because like the way how I was approaching my business was like, okay, I need to make sure I have all these templates. I need to make sure I do this. I need to make like all the things that like it's just me doing, and not necessarily thinking from an orchestrator. Like, okay, I need to have this type of systems in place for like my sales. I need to have this type of systems in place for the marketing. I need this type of system in place for my delivery, you know, versus just doing. And so when you had that mindset switch, what were like some of the characteristics in your life that changed?
So at that point, I was trying to balance sort of family time and work time and networking time and things like that, right? It just kind of was, I'm going to fill this basket for a little bit and then go on to the next and whatever. Didn't have a lot of time for myself in the whole mix. So when that really started shifting, I really kind of started accepting that this was just me, right, in the grand picture. And so I was really incorporating my kids in the mix. Come with me to these things. You know, my husband really kind of like explaining, and this is what is going on. This is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing, you know, getting his feedback in certain things. With the networking, I started really evaluating what's the ROI in that group, right? I'm showing up, but is it really worth the time that I'm investing in it, right? So I started really putting sort of like a monetary value towards time invested in certain things. And that's kind of really what started shifting is just where I'm going to set my time, where I'm going to spend it, you know, make the most of it. And then again, having teams and people to be able to support and do the things that perhaps I wasn't as strong in doing, right? In certain systems and certain technology and certain things. But again, it was really sort of like sitting back and looking into all of the experiences, all of the experience and knowledge that I gained over so many years, and then being able to, okay, take myself out of the mix. What would I do if I were a client? You know, kind of thing, and then be able to structure it that way. And I started really, everything started falling into place when that started happening, you know, automating certain tasks, within the funnels and the sales and the CRM handling and the leads that were coming in and how they were going to be responding, and social media and, you know, the delivery of things. I wasn't, again, the doer. It was finding the people that were going to be able to deliver and do the things, and how we're going to track that work process. So everything started falling into place when I started really kind of understanding where my time was needed most. And then being able to take some time for myself and family and things like that.
How do you coach people to have that shift? Because I feel like it's a very difficult one for people to actually do.
It is. I work backwards. It's where is it that you want to be? Where are you right now? And then the answer, see, the thing is, the answer is really, it's already in you. You know the answer. That's the thing. It's just putting it into structure and following it through. But most people, whenever we have the conversation, you know exactly what you need to do. It's just that structure and then sticking to it. That resilience, that like organization, that mindset that you need to do these things. If you need to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, it's just like making that list beforehand, getting everything ready, you know, finding that motivation, whatever that reason is, whatever that purpose is, in order to get that done. but you know what you need to do. So it's really kind of like that psychology comes back into it. It's just having you really lay it all out. And then we put the structure into place, all the systems that need to go in, and then being able to hold you accountable for what you need to do.
Like, I think for me, what I've seen is when you actually do make that shift, especially when you start analyzing like how you're spending your time and you make shifts, it changes dynamics and relationships in your life.
Yes.
So how did that play out for you? Like, was it challenging, hard, or I guess what tools, or I don't know, maybe books or something? Like, how did you navigate through the structural change of your life and where you're spending all of your time?
So I am a huge fan of Sinek. Simon Sinek. So I listen to him quite a bit when it comes to leadership and just how people operate, right? So that's a huge one. Mel Robbins is another one that I absolutely just love and listen to. However, the synergy with people, I think it was a little bit difficult for me because I would always operate in my professional setting just as I would in my personal setting, which was I was always trying to see the most and the best in people. And I still do. However, once you show me who you are, I trust it now. Right? Before I had a really hard time doing that. And I would always try to justify and sort of come up with different reasons. And then you just get screwed over in the end, whether it's business or not. They kind of really show you that these people are maybe interested or have their own narrative happening, or they're very selfish, or they genuinely don't want to see you win. They are in it for other selfish reasons, right? Yeah. And so, blood or no blood, if you're not championing me, if you're not, by me or want the best for me, my children, my family, then you're just not, there's this place for you. And that's it. And so that shift started really helping me with my peace. And let me tell you, once you have mental peace, that's it. There's no stopping you.
Yeah. It's hard. It's definitely hard to get to that place. But once it's there, it's like you protect it like no tomorrow because you already know what it's like to not have the mental peace. And then when you have the clarity, you have the mental peace, clarity, then your eyes just start opening up to even more things, like more opportunities, better ways you could take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Better, it's like your life starts becoming really integrated and really full and fulfilling.
Exactly. And when it's like kind of pouring from an empty cup, right? It's just pouring from a full cup and being your best self, having that peace and true happiness within. I feel I'm a better wife, I'm a better mom, better sister, better daughter, in so many different ways. And the same way as a leader, as a coach, because I'm able to really, again, sympathize and understand is exactly what it is that you want to do, right? And help organizations see that if you have a person within your organization that is doing something and they've somehow lost their passion, they no longer want to do that. They want to do something different. Well, let's find a way to retain that person, find something to reskill them, repurpose their strength, what they want to do, because they know how your company operates. They know your people. They know your systems. They know everything. And in order to, and then it's easy to say, well, they're not going to serve their purpose, terminate them. But then you have to replace them with somebody completely green that you have to train. That it's a lot more investment. It's expensive. There's no guarantee
that they're going to stay.
And who people and hiring recruitment is what it is today is not what it was 20 years ago. It is completely different. You are not finding the people that are going to be in a company, in their first company, and stay there forever and ever.
No.
That's just not realistic anymore.
No.
Before that, legacy and different generations, you found that longevity, and it was something to it, and that was something that they were very proud of.
Yeah.
Now it's like if I'm not feeling valued, if I'm not feeling pushed or motivated, if I'm not learning anything, if I'm not changing or evolving, I'm done with it, and I'm moving on to the next. And employers are finding out once they put their resignation in, not when they're when they're feeling it or feeling a little bit uneasy.
Yeah.
And so it's creating those environments so that employers really know how to capture it, when to capture it, and when to reskill it. So that way their investment in their people makes sense.
Yeah. But it's like there's so much that has changed over the past 20 years as well, because like a lot of companies previously, like they would offer pension and like really great benefits, and the salaries match the cost of living as well. And so that's been dwindling.
Yeah.
And then especially some of the tactics that like publicly traded companies will use is, let's say their sales weren't as strong for a particular quarter. They'll have the layoffs to show like they're still profitable,
Right.
So it's like they cut people just to save face for the stock prices. So inadvertently, it's like people leaving and not staying. I mean, it's kind of reflective to the environments that a lot of corporations have nowadays.
This is very true. And there's a lot of organizations that also hurt. They hurt their brand even in the recruitment process, even when they're interviewing, the onboarding phase, all of these things. If you don't really put your best foot forward as an organization, as a brand, and really walk the talk, then people are not going to, really be as vested or be as loyal as you would want them to, because you're not as loyal and vested as to them, right? As you would. I mean, there's a lot of enterprise and Fortune companies that, the sales metrics and KPIs keep increasing every single year. And if the team's not hitting it, even though it's higher, it's like, it's not even like, hey, we met what we did last year, or we did a little bit more than we did last year. Great. No, we didn't hit that mark, and now we need to terminate. That's what you find with enterprise companies, though.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is corporate greed, right? Yeah. A lot of it is.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely shaped a lot of how personnel, operate and move. And I think that's honestly why we're seeing such a huge wave of people opening and starting consultancies and opening their own businesses, because of that, what felt secure and safe as an employee no longer feels that way.
Exactly. Yeah. I think for me, like, I decided to go off on my own was because there's so much, even when you're in the corporate environment and like you're doing all the good things, like you're killing it, all these things. But then when it comes time to, like, let's say like a promotion or something, there's some weird reasoning for why there isn't a promotion, like, oh, well, you didn't speak up much in this meeting, like,
yeah.
Or like, for example, if I wanted to do a rotation on another team, then all of a sudden it's like, I'm a traitor. But it's like, we work for the same company. Like, why can't I go do a rotation on this team and other people are doing rotations? Like, because there's just so much personality clashes and egos and like all those things. So when you're working with a company, how do you get them to kind of shift out of that type of mindset and like really translate or transition the environment to that of like internal growth for people versus trying to block people?
So that's a good question because it happens so much with all sizes of organizations. First and foremost, documentation and structuring of roles and positioning need to be set in place. That's where it becomes so important, where it's not necessarily the title, but it's what is the responsibility, what is the purpose of this individual, how you're going to measure it, how, who is going to input, how that person is going to rate, that transparency to the person and to the leaders and the organization is key. So that way there is no bias or opinion or sort of like unstructured reason for you didn't speak up, or no, that's not part of it. This is not the purpose of the role, right? So when you really have that clear, then that definition, there's no wiggle room. So it protects the person, the employee, and it protects the organization as well, because there is no gray lines and to sort of try to understand or justify because I like him or because this person, stays longer, or because no, that's not, again, the purpose of this position. So yeah, that's first and foremost, that is crucial. And so even when we work with organizations, they want to use our staffing solutions. That's one of our first questions is like, okay, you're giving me a title and a job description, but tell me about your organizational structure. Tell me about who's going to oversee this person. What is the reason for hiring? Is it because it's backfill or, it's a new position? If it's a new position, then tell me a little bit more about the reason, the need. What is this person going to be doing? What the value is? What is this? How is this person going to be measured? Performance and all of these things, because it's important for us to know, again, who we're bringing in as a candidate. Again, integrity first and foremost for who we're representing, and at the same time for the organization, because the last thing we want is to bring in somebody that is amazing, but because the organization is so unstructured and so toxic and so, jumbled, then you've lost that talent. You've lost that person, for good. Yeah.
Okay. And then when you've put that structure in place, how have you seen like the company's like profitability increase, or maybe even employee retention or level of burnout perhaps? How did that change or decrease?
We've seen increases by 60%. It's been that drastic. Revenue, definitely turnover. I mean, turnover, we've gotten companies to turnover at 3%, which is really unheard of.
Wow.
But people really stay there. They're happy. Again, the leaders are a lot more involved. There's a lot of leadership coaching, mentorship programs, all of these things that are so necessary. There's a lot that's happening now, and it's been happening over the years with AI and automation, which is amazing. It's great. I love technology, but there's something about, again, keeping humans real and operating as such and being able to have those relationships and be able to, okay, well, now this is being automated. This is giving me more time back, right? And so what am I going to do with this time? I'm really going to get to know my team, really going to understand who they are, what they need of me, serve them. And then also for organizations have working leaders, right? Where you're not necessarily out of the weeds completely, so that you can stay related and understanding, with what your team is going to, because again, what you did 10 years ago is not what people are doing now.
It's different.
Yeah.
That's really great. That's really, really great. Yeah. Because like certain places where, let's say I did like a tech implementation, and you kind of see such a disconnect a lot of the times with the C-suite.
Yeah.
They're definitely in their own little bubble, and they make, they don't even realize some of the detrimental things they do when they interact with the board.
Yeah.
And they're disconnected with their team because they put expectations and performance expectations in place with board levels, and so that's what they're expecting. And then when they don't deliver because they're so disconnected to what was really going on, then you have another wave or another reason of why people get laid off.
Exactly. And that's where the layers come in, and they're so important, and to have that relationship and transparency within the layers, because it's a responsibility then of the directors or the senior directors or the VPs to understand and know what's going on, and so on, so that way the C-suite knows, understands, has the right expectations. And again, having those leaders that are going to speak up for their people. That's the key also, because there's a lot of times where they just feel like they just have to agree and delegate, and this is what it is, and this is just what we have to do with no say. But they're not setting the right expectations. And so their team is suffering, and then it just kind of trickles down the ladder, And so you find that a lot within organizations, but it's because of that, the lack of a trusting environment or safety, where leaders can speak up and say, this is not a realistic expectation. Why did we promise this to the client, right, in the first place?
And so what are the first couple of steps that someone could take to start incorporating or changing an environment where people don't feel safe to where they finally do feel safe?
So first, you need a really good a really good partner to be able to audit and understand. We start first with an audit because there's a lot of, especially if the organization and you have some fear or questioning whether it feels safe or not, a survey is not going to work. Right, that's the first thing. It's just not going to work. You really need to have that as a reality where people are. If there's a question of uncertainty, they're not going to tell you how they're feeling because again, it's unsafe.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to really have a partner who's going to come in and be able to really kind of understand the people, talk to the leaders, talk to the people underneath what it is they're doing, what they're working on, those kind of things. That's where really HR comes. We work with their departments if they have one, and be able to work with them and understand where they're at, how they feel. Because a lot of the times too, when we found with organizations that we're working with HR is the first one because they're sort of like the black sheep of the world, where it's like they're given the tasks to execute. They get blamed by a lot of the folks for executing. Because they're the ones that terminate and they're the ones that push all the policies and all the things for the eye rolls. Why this policy again? Or why this meeting? Why this event? Right. But it's because it's being pushed onto them. Right. And they're just executing. And so, but they know a lot. They know a lot more than one, would think. And so it's like really auditing and getting to understand with them what's happening. Where is it coming from? What do they feel? And that's hoping that HR is not also corrupt because sometimes it is.
A lot of people believe that HR is corrupt. That's why they don't go to HR.
I love my HR people. I know, but sometimes it is. And so we really need to kind of clean that up as well because you need to have the right people in the right places in order to speak and walk the talk again is what I say is really have that integrity and be able to lead others, but also follow what it is that you're preaching.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And I'm very happy that you mentioned all of those things because a lot of people believe that HR is like, if they're the employee, like HR is not for them, and then a lot of people like suffer in silence because they feel like there's no one that they can turn to.
Right.
And then some of them, like if they're fortunate, they get another job, but some people, they just stay. And then that's where a lot of the mental health issues arise and burnout. And you mentioned that you had burnout as well. So what was that like in your life? And then how were you able to combat the burnout and like get yourself back to feeling fully yourself and full of energy and full of life?
Yeah. So I understood that burnout happened. But before it happened to me, I was like, people just need to push through, right? I just kind of felt that way. I was just because I had children young. I went through college. I climbed the corporate ladder. I did all of these things, most of them as a single mom, right? I went through all of these things as a single mom. And so for me, it was just pushing and failure was just never an option. And so when you have that mindset, it was just like, go, go, go. Yeah, I'm tired. So what? I'm sleeping 3 hours, 4 hours. It's fine. Keep going, right? Bounce back to it. And so after so many years of just having that mindset, I just didn't believe in burnout. Oh, I'm just a little tired. I'll just take a little nap or I'll take a little something or, vitamins, whatever it may be, in order to really kind of like detox, get my thing and continue. But when it hit hard. I mean, I was getting sick. It was my body crashing. It wasn't my mind. It was my body was crashing. It was crashing in Colombia. I was in the hotel room getting chills, all the things. And it wasn't cold. It was just like my body was just like something's off, And then I was traveling to India. The same thing happening in India. Couldn't do certain events and certain things because I was just like completely just mobilized. And then I had to come back, go through so many medical procedures in order to really kind of like get well. Wow. And so it was kind of like that reminder of put your oxygen mask first and then, help others around. And so when I really understood and felt that, and then personal matters, right? My dad was very ill and he was going through all the things. And so again, all the stressors, but for me, it was just mentally, I was like, okay, what life is life. You got to push forward, but my body crashed. And so once I really kind of got better physically, then I everything started kind of like falling, okay, this is burnout. I am just falling into, I saw myself falling into this place of, I need a mental sort of like cleanse, because everything started looking very gloomy, negative. You know, I just couldn't really see the light. I was pushing through, but then it was just like, ugh, I can't do this, you know, which was very not like me.
Yeah.
And so once I really started then going back into meditating and really just allowing time for myself and for my mind and again, my network, the people around me that were really good to me, that all helped. So once you get out of that, and I think it really happened over December, you know, over the holidays, and then really kind of getting over that. It
Wait,
helped.
this past December? Or the year, those
year.
years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Like,
No,
okay.
before. No, not this
that's so
past.
recent.
No,
Okay.
not this past December. But
Yeah.
a few December. But it was
few
through the
December.
holidays.
Yeah.
It was through the holidays. So it was hard also, because then, you know, it's the family and the gifts and everything, and I was just like, I was not feeling it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, once I really kind of took that month for myself, you know, no work, nothing. It was just kind of really getting to my mental state. Then I was able to really kind of bounce back. But yeah, it was the body.
Yeah. I think I went through a similar thing where my body was just like giving out on me, but my mind was like, no, we have to do big things.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
know?
So, I mean, I was like, okay, I gave myself a month. That's it. We got to bounce back. But it was well needed. And that's kind of where I now say and understand a lot of people when they say they're burnt out, they're tired, exhausted, they're going through a depression or something like that, you know, where it's like you really need to take the time to get well.
Yes.
And then surround yourself with the right people to champion you and you know, support you and love on you so that you can love on yourself.
Yeah.
And then, you know, push forward.
Yeah. And then, so when you came back after you recovered from burning out, and you surround yourself with people that love you and everything, what about this? Your actual like activities of things you were doing after that? Like, did that change, or did you go back into everything that you were doing that led up to the burnout?
No. I was able to then, again, it was a complete self audit and analyzation. It was like, what exactly caused me to get here? That can't happen, you know, and then setting systems in place, organization, structure, my calendar, setting time for myself on my calendar, you know, all of these things and setting time with my kids and my husband and the date nights and the, you know, putting all of it in. So that way it's like, yes, I'm doing all the things. I'm moving towards my goals. But at the same time, I am also filling, you know, my other baskets. And I am also taking care of myself in other ways, not just work. I love work. And I think that's the problem. I absolutely love work and a workaholic, you know. So for me, it's like I am great, you know, on my computer, happy as can be, doing all the things, leading meetings, you know, it makes me really happy. But at the same time, you really do need that sort of like break away. And it helps with clarity also, because sometimes when you break away, you come back, you're like, I didn't think of that, right? I didn't think this is the direction we need to go. This is a different strategy, or what do you guys think of this? And, you know, so it definitely helps also.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And because like you also got rid of things, you restructured things, you organized your life in a way where it doesn't take as much energy to do things. So you basically like have your energy reserved for space for clarity.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's fantastic.
And understanding when I'm at my peak in energy. I think that was like a really big one for me, because I was in your mind, you sort of always go to like a regular work day.
Yeah.
Whether it's like 8 to 6 and it's like, I need to work these hours, and, you know, you have that mindset. but I'm not as functional at I'm not great at 8 o'clock in the morning. My best is at noon. 11 o'clock for me is you're going to get the best out of me, right? From noon to 6, I'm on. Past 6, I start kind of falling off a little bit, you'll get me, but it's not my best. It's not my strongest.
Right.
So really understanding and putting the most important things into that time frame, that also sort of helps. And then when I'm down, then that's when I'm doing other things that really don't require as much energy. And that sort of preserves also.
No, that's a really great tip, because I think a lot of people, they think they have to do everything all together all at once. And then they beat themselves up because they don't have energy to do it. You know, I know I did that for sure.
Yeah. We all do.
Yeah. But then when you start really architecting your life according to your own natural rhythms, it's complete game changer.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it definitely makes life a lot more fulfilling as well.
Yeah. Again, mental peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what are the things that you do to protect your mental peace?
Things that I do a lot of meditation. I love meditation. I think sitting in a silent moment, or even listening to good music that's I'm in that vibe, but having a moment to myself to really sort of think of all the things that are happening around me really help clear my mind. And again, it's the people, it's the network. I think I didn't truly value or understand the worth of the people around until I would say the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, it was just clarity for me, how important that was. Because when you're a giver, when you give, and you give it unconditionally, and you give so much, you need to have the right people. Otherwise, you get taken advantage of.
Yeah, and it depletes you.
Yeah. So I think that's incredibly important. Males and females is just really knowing who's around you, what, and wanting the best for you. But meditation.
That's really good. That's really good. And I think this is probably the last question, but out of all of your experiences and, different phases, different journeys, different states, different everything, what would you say is your, I want to say lessons learned, or maybe your top three lessons learned that you would want to give to someone maybe just starting out, or maybe someone that's in a difficult time, that's looking to have a more fulfilling life, or maybe someone who's looking to have a more of an impact in business, or maybe just someone that's just kind of in an in-between state, maybe transitional state.
So first and foremost, I love to think big. So always think big. Never minimize. Always think big. Don't be so hard on yourself if you don't achieve the biggest goal, right? Thinking big though, but not so hard on yourself. Leading with kindness is a huge one. There are a lot of nice people in the world that are not as kind, right? So leading with kindness. But really for people that are seeking a change or something different, is finding a person that you admire, right? Or looking at a person that you want to have where they're at. You want to be where they're at. Reaching out to them and people so that to see if you can be mentored or have some advice or some sort of guidance. People are a lot more open than one would think. Right. And so just a message through LinkedIn, right? People are so open to that and being able to respond. And then positioning yourself in rooms where people are so much more grander, just bigger. So always leveling up, right? If you are the smartest person in the room, you got to find another room. That's the biggest one.
I like that. If you're the smartest person in the room, you got to find a different room.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so true. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah, it's so true. You bring me back. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming here and coming on my podcast and sharing your story and sharing all the impact and transformational things you do for these organizations, because it's people's lives.
Yep.
You know, you're basically changing spaces to allow people to feel more fulfilled and more appreciated. And so you have no idea the type of impact that you're really having on people, you know, where they can go home and be happy, you know. So I'm so grateful for you sharing your story and sharing everything and providing all of your lessons learned and advice for different people who may be in, you know, similar phases that you've gone through. And so where can people find you?
Oh my gosh. So I'm an open book. So you can find me on LinkedIn for sure, Gabriela Enriquez, or on socials, the Gabriela.Enriquez or HRbp.Inc on social, on Instagram. So yeah, always send me a DM. But I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be with you and see you thrive. So thankful for your time as well.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. If you were inspired by what you heard, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.